Hello and welcome to Art 105, section 30399, held over the summer session, the first 8-week summer session for 2025. My name's Raven Moffat. I'm going to be your instructor. Um, I know I look very young, but I am working on my PhD and I have my MFA. I've taught as an adjunct professor for 5 years. So don't let the baby face fool ya. Right now I'm based out of Oregon. And the beauty of these online classes, especially for a summer semester, is you can be home if you're not based in Tucson, or you can be traveling if you are based in Tucson and still get things done. Heads up, this class does require some attendance of museums and art spaces, but it's intentionally very flexible to meet you where you're at in the world. So all of my resources are going to be based around Tucson because that's where Pima Community College is based out of. But if and a lot of my students have taken me up on this. If you're traveling, use that time to explore a new museum. I've had students explore museums as far away as Tokyo and Berlin, or just some towns over in like Yuma, or Flagstaff. So um, this course is ready to support you during your summer. It is online asynchronous, so we're not going to meet face to face or over Zoom, but I am going to pop up every once in a while to show you my face and give you some tips and tricks about the course. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to share screen so we can take a look at our D2L together. Um, okay, so this is our course. Everything you need is going to be accessible through D2L. When you first open the course page, always pay attention to my announcement sections. Right now, I have this kind of automated one, and then our tour will pop up here. But the first day of class, there will be a couple of key points to get you started. And then every week, at least once a week, I'm going to be popping in just to give you reminders about due dates, and also to share any resources or fun information I might have found. Um, this is me, this is my dog Annie, and this is my email. Please do email me anytime, um, through my Pima email always. It's really helpful if you can either email me directly through D2L, because that goes straight to my Pima, or using your own Pima email. If you use a personal email, it's very likely it will get sent to my spam account, sorry, my spam folder, and sometimes it's just hard for me to see those. I try to check it for that reason, but if you want to get a hold of me, email me through your Pima account to mine. Also embedded in the course is our librarian, Sandra Lay. She's phenomenal, as is all of PCC's library resources, which can be very helpful. We do have a couple of research aspects to this course, and they can help with that. So, again, pay attention to announcements. And then the next thing you're going to take a peek at is everything under this welcome module, which includes a PDF link of the syllabus if you're like me and you like to print things out. Otherwise, if you want a more interactive syllabus, you can click on our syllabus tab here. It will load, and then all the information you need. So starting on May 29th, ending on July 25th, you will have things due until, excuse me, until the 24th. So you have one day of flexibility there at the end if something were to come up. Um, but anything you don't get to me by that time, I'm not going to be able to grade. So make sure you're staying on top of um, our class due dates, which I'll show you where those are in just a second. If ever you need to meet with me, email me at my Pima email, and then I'm going to send you a Zoom link. It's also here and embedded in my instructor bio under our content page. And so that's how we'll meet. And Zoom is really helpful because we can do the screen sharing. So if you're having technical issues or if you want to show me a first draft of something, we can be looking at it together. So that's why I use Zoom. Um, just a reminder that when you sign up to be in a course and then you read the syllabus and continue with the class, you are agreeing to the level of work that's expected of you. And because this is a shorter class over the summer, it's an 8 week, the amount of workload is condensed, right? So all 3 credit hour classes require 135 hours total of content. Because it's shorter, it gets compressed into an average of 17 hours a week. It could fluctuate. Some weeks might be less, some weeks might be more, but that's what you're looking at. In order to succeed in this class, you are first and foremost going to need reliable internet because this is a completely online, asynchronous course. Everything is through D2L, right? So I understand some of you might be, working remote, living in a rural community or on the res. Totally fine. Just, make sure that you have time in your schedule to go someplace where they've got consistent, reliable internet access. Um, the other thing is we do have one studio project. It's a self-portrait. And so you're going to want some art materials. And so here's, some potential paper and pencil. You might want some paints. You might want some collage materials. And then, of course, you're going to need to document that somehow to then upload it. So just using your camera or smartphone, or if you make something physical and then you want to scan it, you could use a scanner. Maybe you have your own, maybe you just want to go to your public library and use that. The other really critical thing is we do have assignments that require you to go to museums, as I said previously. So you will need transportation to get there. Of course, use public transport, but what that requires is that you plan ahead, right? You look and see, is the museum that you want to go to, what are its open hours? What's the cost of attendance? A lot of times that's reduced or zero for students, or if you're on SNAP benefits and you have your EBT, that can reduce it as well. Some museums are just free and open for everybody. Some it's residents. So do your research before you go so that you don't have any surprises, right? And then look at the bus schedule. Okay. Um, if you're new to D2L, I will be posting a link to this student online resources in our first assignment, in our first announcement, my first announcement post. So that landing page. But there's also this link to Brightspace help if ever D2L is really failing you. I am not a whiz at D2L. D2L is not my job. Like my job is to monitor this page, but I don't know the ins and outs of the platform itself, right? Like I can't problem solve that with you. So if you are experiencing a D2L issue, go to them first. Email me, of course, to let me know like, hey, I'm having some technical issues. My assignments might be late or I'm missing something, and I can try to email things directly to you. But in terms of solving that problem, there's not very much I can do, but the people with D2L and tech support can absolutely help with that. Here's a little overview of all the things we've got going on. Just want to point out you're gonna watch this video, you're gonna read the syllabus on your own, and then one of the first assignments is to complete a course contract quiz, which is basically you just saying I agree to all the things that are laid out in the class. So it's a very easy 5 points. It's 5 points out of 700, so that might seem like a drop in the bucket, but it can really they accumulate over time. Our next assignment is going to be a very easy icebreaker introduction discussion, and then we'll get into the class content, which is primarily weekly quizzes. All of them are due on Sunday at 11:30 p.m. That doesn't mean that you need to do them on Sunday. It just means I'm giving you until Sunday to do it, right? So that's me giving you the whole week. And then, like I said, some gallery assignments, some museum assignments, that hands-on self-portrait assignment. And then the way that I'm able to weave in some conversation within the class is through discussion assignments. So we have three, and then there will be one extra credit discussion assignment just to give you a little bit more time to dialogue with your fellow students. Here are some key dates for this schedule. This is posted on PIMA's website as well. My course policy is that all due dates are firm. If something happens, something comes up, you've got an emergency, or especially if you're having a technical issue, email me in advance of the due date. If you don't have Wi-Fi and you can't email me, that's something else, right? But as much as possible, email me in advance so that it just makes it easier for me to extend your D2L due date. Because if it passes, then sometimes that can be complex. Um, and just communicate with me up front. I can be flexible as long as I know what's going on. If I don't know what's going on, there's only so much that I can do. Um, I did note that we have weekly quizzes. Um, Not only do those count in terms of you completing the quiz and you getting the quiz grade to monitor that you're doing your readings and you're understanding class content, but they also count because they're something that's due every week as your participation in the class. So unfortunately, if you miss a quiz, you are also often marked absent. The times that that doesn't happen is if you missed a quiz, but you did submit, let's say that week you also had a discussion due. I will honor your activity in the discussion as your participation for the week. But just try to get everything done and you will succeed in this class. This is now the third time I've talked about this, but it bears repeating because inevitably there's going to be some confusion about it. You do have to go visit a gallery and a museum. So you got two outings. Actually, really, you have three because you also need to go see some public art, but two outings to institutions. Um, Again, all my resources are Tucson, centered around the Tucson area because that's where Pima Community College is based. But if you're based somewhere else, please go to your local museum. That would be amazing. The only thing I ask is that you email me in advance just to so that we can make sure that it is going to satisfy the requirements. Every once in a while, someone has found a really cool flex art space, but it's doing something a little bit different than maybe what we're looking at in this class. Or it's primarily like a science museum. And so there's not a whole lot of visual art. Those are just things I want to check before you make the journey to that space. So if you, let's say you're based in Houston and you find a small community gallery, what you would do is you would just email me and say, "Hey, Raven, I'm based in Tucson. I'm thinking about going to this gallery." And then you would send me that gallery's website or even just the name of the gallery. And then I'll email back within 24 hours saying, "Yep, looks great." Or, I think there might be some issues with it. This is what I'm thinking about. And if I know the area, then I'll suggest an alternative. If I don't, I'll say, let's keep looking, right? Okay. Um, I allow the use of AI up until a point in this class. So I think collaborating with AI can be really helpful, especially for our writing assignments. If you're feeling a little bit stuck, and put the prompt into an AI generator just to help you draft something out to get scaffolding, right? Okay, this I think the introduction maybe is going to look like this, and then here could be some of my body paragraphs. I think that's fine. Alternatively, I actually use AI a lot for editing down. I'm a pretty verbose writer. I write a lot. I have a lot to say, and sometimes condensing is not my strong point. So I do my best, and then I hand it over to an AI generator, and I see, their suggestions for edits, and then I might pick and choose what I incorporate. Basically, you're allowed to use it as long as you're not just putting the prompt into an AI generator and then submitting what AI writes directly to me. You need to be working with it as a collaborator, as an editor, and you need to cite your use. So I'm a stickler for citation because you're in higher ed and we have policies for academic integrity, and if you don't live up to those, you will not have a very successful time in higher ed. So that's why I'm such a stickler about it. Okay, you're going to succeed in this course if you stay up to date with our due dates and are active. So let me, uh, before I go there, this is our department head, Mariana. She's amazing. Um, it is the summer, so you might, expect a little bit of a longer communication time with her than normal. But for me, you can pretty much count on me getting back to you within 24 hours. I also have a life, and I also have deadlines and activities. I I'm a ceramicist and I have a wood firing workshop that I'm going to be at the first weekend in June. So there might be a little bit of a delay there. And I also present my own research at symposiums. And so I'm going to an international conference in Saskatoon in the middle of June. So I'll be giving you heads up about those on our announcements, just so you know what I'm up to. But those would be the times that you might get a little bit of a delay. But I promise I'm getting back to you. If ever you're concerned, you can email me again and I won't take it personally. Okay, so we looked at our syllabus. The next thing to look at is our schedule of work. Again, everything's due at 11:30 p.m. on the dates listed. And because this is a compressed course, you often have multiple assignments due per week. I strongly recommend that you do not wait until that Sunday when things are due to try to submit, to try to get your quiz done, submit your discussion and your assignment. Be submitting things throughout the week. And I'll try to be monitoring and grading throughout the week so, you can make sure um, you're getting feedback. Um, so everything is pretty much set at Sunday deadlines, with the exception of down at the very end of our course, we have some overall semester assignments. The self-portrait that I talked about, the museum, and the museum field trip are the big ones. Um, and those are heftier. They require a lot of writing. They require you to really engage things. They're due at the end so that you can take the whole semester to work on them. Please, please, please do not email me like on July 19th saying, I, want some feedback about this idea that I had for my self-portrait. If you're having ideas about your self-portrait, email me in advance. Same goes with the museum field trip. Don't email me on the 23rd saying, I haven't been to a museum yet and I'm not sure where to go. It's not going to work out for you. So make sure you're submitting those ahead of the deadline, or at least working on them ahead of the deadline, right? The other thing to note is Module 8 is slightly abridged in terms of time, not content. You do only have the one content quiz, and then the final assessment is just like your reflections on the class. So don't stress that too much. That is something you could get started at like 10 p.m. that night and finish by the submission. That's the only thing I'll say that you could do that with, because it's like, do you feel this course was successful? And I really do look at your feedback. So it's helpful to me if you put a little time and intention in there. But it's not the heaviest in terms of content. But so on the 24th, which is a Thursday, you have your Module 12 quiz due and your museum field trip assignment. Um, that's because our class ends on the 25th, right? So you have just one day of wiggle room if you were to have an emergency, right? And I were to clear you to submit a day late, you would have that amount of wiggle room. Otherwise, just submit everything on time. But it does mean that instead of getting until Sunday of that week, you only get until Thursday. It's because our class formally ends on the Friday, right? So, keys to success are work ahead, email me, communicate with me as soon as you're experiencing any kind of questions, any kind of concerns, and always refer to the schedule of work. Okay, so I'm going to wrap things up here, but those are the key points. I've been looking a lot under our content tab, which is really great. You can go through the whole course just by clicking through content, and you can go to the read me first, read that, which I do recommend that you do, and then click the next button, and it'll just walk you through all components of this D2L course that I have very intentionally set up to be accessible. Um, just a couple other things I want to draw your attention to. In this first welcome module, you also have some resources for how to identify scholarly resources, tips and tricks for writing success, and that orientation to online learning if D2L is new to you, and then little quick links on how to like start a discussion thread. Then I have some links to Pima Community College's art information. And then grading rubrics, so you can know how I'm evaluating your assignments. And then this is perhaps some of the most important uh, components, which is the assignment guidelines and discussion instructions. So that's really the meat of like step by step, how do you go about doing the hands-on self-portrait? And then I have some examples of that. Um, Likewise, for your there's some instructions for a discussion on the museum walk. That one you actually don't have to go to a museum in person. You're doing a digital walk. Um, but all of the prompts for that discussion are there in those instructions. And if you don't address all the prompts, you don't get all of your points. So that is all. And then, after a welcome module, you get into the content module. Module one, you'll be reading some things, watching some videos. If ever, I try to check all the links before class starts, but something can change throughout our class, or I could have missed something. So if ever a link isn't working or you're having trouble accessing something, again, just email me and I'll be happy to help. All right, looking forward to our Art 105 course this summer, and just feel free to reach out. Bye now.